I'm here at the ICAEW IT Faculty Conference, Why Cloud, Why Now, with Dr. Mark Williams of Moore Consulting. Mark gave a talk this morning on cloud security, a matter of trust, and has written our recent faculty publication, Making the Move to Cloud Computing. Mark, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Initially, I wonder if I could ask you about reaction to the poll results that we had this morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, the poll results was that 23% of the delegates there believe that cloud security is still an issue, and I think it's not a big surprise.
Mm-hmm. Seemed to be about data privacy and data security.
Yes,
those were the topics. Okay, you went through, before you went into the security questions, you talked about some of the major benefits of cloud computing, and I wonder maybe whether you could really play one or two of those.
Well, I think it really comes down to cheaper, faster, better.
Mm-hmm.
Cheaper in terms of the cost benefits, in terms of operational expenditure versus capital expenditure, in terms of making use of the economy of scale that cloud computing providers could provide. And in terms of faster, the fact that you can deploy all these systems so quickly, and through a web-based interface, and better in terms of these guys know what they're doing. They can do things better than we can in general. So, and then you can do it in a small organisation. So that's cheaper, faster, better.
Okay, fantastic. Now, one of the main concerns that our members have is over security and putting their data, and especially their clients' data, into the cloud. So what advice do you have to them about minimising the risk?
Well, I think the first key thing is to get your own house in order.
Mm-hmm.
That means making sure that all your users know the risks of being in cloud computing, and the risks of giving away their credentials to potential adversaries or to criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And also getting your own house in order in terms of governance. Make sure that your governance extends into the cloud, and that it's not, if you go into the cloud without getting things right at your end, then it's a problem. But if you think about all the issues beforehand, then you're better prepared to go into the cloud. Okay,
fantastic. Another issue that's mentioned a lot by members is availability, and you talked about that this morning. Can you tell us some of the issues there about, if broadband goes down for a month?
Well, broadband is clearly the key part of cloud computing. There are ways around it. You can have, say, in certain instances, you can have cached applications on your computers. Mm-hmm. So in that way, you can still carry on using the service that you're using, and then synchronize back with the cloud service when you have an internet connection again. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way around it, really. In other cases, you can have, say, a redundant broadband connection, or say a 3G broadband router as well. So there are solutions. Okay,
fantastic. I wonder if you could outline briefly some of the other risks that members should be aware of that you talked about this morning.
Well, there's a lot of talk about vendor lock-in, and there's some dispute really about whether that's a real thing or not. Whether we should just accept that if you choose a vendor you like, then should you really be worried about being locked into it? But I think it's a genuine issue, and I think it's more about your data, making sure that your data isn't locked in.
Yeah.
So that you can get it out and you can move it to another provider, another cloud service if possible. There's also potentially unexpected costs, either with the service itself or with your internal systems and setup, and your internal costs of migration. Talking about internal, there's also potentially internal resistance. If your IT department is against moving into the cloud, or your legal department, then you're really onto a losing proposition, really. You need to get them on side.
Okay, fantastic. One of the questions that came out in the session this morning from the floor was about how can members be sure that the vendor they invest in will be around to support them in years to come?
Well, the short answer is you can't, because things change so much. But if you do your due diligence right, and if you vet the company correctly, make sure they're an expanding business, that their technology isn't going to go away too soon, then you've got a good chance. But also, you can't take these things for granted, and you do have to have an exit strategy, a plan B, especially regarding your data.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you've recently written a publication for the faculty called Making the Move to Cloud Computing, and in that you talk about looking for problems to solve or identifying opportunities. Can you talk a bit about that?
It's all about finding the best fit for your business and what cloud computing is relevant. So it's about understanding what you do, your processes and practices, and thinking about how you can do it differently using the cloud computing services. That's what it's all about, really. Finding the right problem to solve, and also making sure that perhaps initially you choose low-risk options that don't deal with sensitive data, so you kind of get it, takes sorts of baby steps into the cloud.
Okay, thanks for that. You talk about crowdsourcing in that publication. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's likely that you won't just end up with one cloud provider. You'll have numerous ones, and it's all about getting the right mix for your business. So that's what it is. That's what crowdsourcing is. Okay,
fantastic. Any tips on the implementation of a cloud system, and are there any sort of extra steps or nuances for cloud implementation?
It's very similar, really, to rolling out any other IT system, I would say. The key tips, the key steps are really getting all your governance and your risk strategy and all those internal things right. And then otherwise it's just like migrating to any other IT system, I would say.
Okay, thanks very much. And finally, what will be your top tips for members looking to move their systems to the cloud?
Okay, well, there's a number of top tips, which some I've written down. I can read a few of them out.
Yeah, sure.
The key thing, as I mentioned before, you need to really get your IT and your legal people on side. Understand your data and your data protection and your data privacy responsibilities. Understand the true costs of moving to the cloud, not just the external costs of how much it costs to use the cloud provider services, but also what it means to your business. The change, basically the cost of change. You need to make sure if you put forward a case for cloud computing, you need to get signed off by everyone, all the relevant stakeholders in the business, because that's what it comes down to in the end. If it goes wrong, you need to make sure that it was agreed at the right levels for the right people. Start small and think big. Choose a low risk entry into cloud computing at first if you can. If you're a large organisation, that makes sense. If you're a small organisation, you can move everything early on into the cloud. But if you're a big organisation, take small steps.
Okay.
With a big impact. And finally, look for a provider that you can trust, really. I mean, there are some out there that need to make sure that they answer all your questions regarding governance and risk and such like.
Okay, fantastic. Well, many thanks, Mark, for staying on after the conference. I know it's all finished now, but thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.